Today, we are making use of all that great summer produce we're seeing across Delmarva this time of year. We have a delicious, easy, and family-friendly summer corn chowder. Let's get started. To a stock pot or Dutch oven that you have preheated on medium heat, we're going to add about 2 ounces of pancetta. If you did not have pancetta, you could also use about 4 slices of bacon chopped up. Make sure those pieces are separated, and we're gonna give that just a few minutes to cook up. All right, while the pancetta is getting nice and warmed up and crisped, we're gonna chop half of a yellow onion and 2 ribs of celery. Okay, our celery and onions are done. I am going to be using some pre-minced garlic in a jar. However, if you wanted to use fresh cloves of garlic, you would go ahead and chop those and set those to the side right now as well. Now let's check on that pancetta. All right, so our pancetta is nice and crispy. We are going to add our celery and onions. Stir it really well. You want that oil to get a nice coating on all of our celery and onions. And we are going to cook this for just a couple minutes until the onions are translucent and softened up. Now that our onions are translucent, you don't want them to be brown, just translucent, we're gonna go ahead and add our garlic and give that a stir again. And the garlic, you just want it to be fragrant. So as soon as you can really smell that garlic warming up and that nice fragrance from it, that's all it takes for garlic. You don't wanna add it at the same time as the onions because the garlic will cook too fast and get brown and crispy, and that's what you don't want. Okay, now that our garlic is nice and fragrant, we're going to add to that our chicken broth. You could also use a vegetable broth in this, but we are gonna use 5 cups of our homemade chicken stock. And if you wanna learn how to make your own chicken stock using scraps from vegetables and bones that you've already cooked in your own kitchen, make sure you check out our channel and look at our episode on that. Okay, our chicken stock is in there. We're gonna go ahead and let that come up to a low boil. While that is doing its thing, we're gonna go ahead and get our potatoes ready. All right, while our stock is coming up to a low boil, we are going to peel and dice 2 russet potatoes. All right, we're gonna get a medium dice on our potatoes. And if you are worried about your potatoes browning, you can always have a bowl of ice cold water, and as you cut it, just put them in there. The potatoes do take the longest to cook in this chowder recipe, so making sure they're not too big is important. So you do go for a medium dice on these. Okay, we're ready to take our potatoes over and add them to our simmering broth. Now that our broth is up to a low boil, we're going to add our potatoes as well as our seasonings. We have salt, some black pepper, a little bit of cayenne, some thyme, some Italian seasoning, and some paprika. We're gonna give that a stir, and we're gonna let that come up to a boil, and while that is cooking the potatoes, we're gonna get the rest of our vegetables ready. We are using today a yellow squash, a green zucchini, and some corn. This recipe is perfect for summer because these ingredients are all fresh and in season in Delmarva, so you can find them at all of your local farmers markets, and they will be delicious this time of year. If possible, look for a medium size squash and zucchini. If they're too large, they tend to be less flavorful and the texture can be a little bit more tough. All right, we're just gonna do the same thing with our zucchini. So I have this handy dandy little tool to remove the kernels from the corn, but you can easily do this with a knife as well. You're just going to hold the cob and scrape down the kernels. Okay, our potatoes should be tender now, and we're ready to add the rest of our vegetables. Okay, after simmering about 10 minutes, our potatoes are fork tender, and we are ready to add our corn and squash. And what I love about this dish is it is very hearty, very filling, and it is absolutely chock full of vegetables. Okay, we're gonna give that about another 10 minutes to come up to a low simmer and get the rest of our vegetables cooked. All right, the great thing about this chowder is that we don't use any flour or anything to thicken it. We're just going to blend up about 2 cups of the soup mixture and add that back in, and that's gonna give us a nice creamy base. So we just transfer very carefully. This is hot, and you could use a food processor or a blender for this. Now be very careful. Anytime you blend a hot liquid, you want to vent the top so that that hot mixture doesn't splatter at you and so the steam can still escape. Again, you always want to let that steam escape before you just pop off the lid so you don't burn yourself. And you can see this is a nice creamy mixture now. And we're going to add that back into our pan and give that a stir. And for our last step, we're going to add, you can use your choice, whole milk, half and half. I would not recommend something like a skim milk only because it will be too watery. This is going to add the creaminess to this chowder. And I would recommend you do between 1 and 2 cups depending on how thick you want the mixture, okay? And you're just gonna give that a stir and maybe let it come up to temperature for just a couple minutes on low. And there we have it, our summer corn chowder, making the best use of all of that great fresh local produce we're getting this time of year. It is healthy and it is delicious. It's an easy weeknight meal or a perfect lunch that you can take to work. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. For the Worcester County Health Department, I am nutritionist Kelly Williams. We'll see you next time at What's Cooking in Worcester.